These two brothers have been living a difficult life for the past 20 years, where they were homeless and lived in a hole for 20 years.
Ahangaha mubona turyamye.
Ubu niho murara, niho mutuye, ubuzima bwose ni hano.
They had lost hope since they had no money and life was turning upside down daily. After visiting, airing and publishing their story, we visited back and brought them funds gathered and even gave them a house. This is the update.
Banyita Ntakimana Claude.
34-year-old Jack is the brother to Claude. And interestingly, Claude is the youngest. They lived a normal life, but this never lasted as they found themselves becoming orphans, losing their dad at a young age.
Dufite ababyeyi bombi, umwe yitaba Imana. Mfite grafrere wanjye ajyana mukecuru amujyana I Kigali, biba ngombwa natwe ko tubakurikira.
And that was the beginning of suffering, as later everything went south. As one stranger came to them saying he was their cousin brother, took their mother to the city. And then they were left alone. One day, the two teens by then decided coming to town and find their mother who had abandoned them. But upon their arrival, their mother was nowhere to be found as they never knew her whereabouts. It was a difficult and terrible experience to the young teens who later decided to coming back to their village. And this time, there was no money for transport, and the decision was footing it back home since they could not steal or do anything to afford money, and the journey took longer than expected.
We went for it with hope to manage.
Twagenda iminsi 6 uko ntago twibaga ntitwari kubura n'uwo twiba twaravuze ati ntago twiba reka dufate umuhanda.
Due to having no money, they could depend on leftovers thrown.
Kumuhanda tugatoragura nk'agace kakumbati tukagahekenya twagera ahantu hari itiyo ry'amazi tugafata amazi tukanywa tuza birangira tugeze n'ahangaha.
But there is something they will never forget, which is the day one left the other on that journey shortly before they reached their destination.
Urukweto runshekeraho rwa rugabire nayo nambaye. Uyu muhungu mu gihe akomeje ntiyamenya ko urukweto rwanshikiyeho nge nshaka ukuntu narudoda.
Ni gute tabimenye sikandi mwari kumwe?
Yari ari imbere yari yanshigishije intambwe.
When they reached at home, it was terrible as they found when the house was demolished and they had no money to construct another one and decided to live here in this bush in what looks like a hole. And since it's a bush, it's a home to wild animals that sometimes pay a visit to them at night. But they are no longer afraid of anything.
Ibikoko ntibishobora kubatera nijoro muryamye bikabarya.
Ibikoko usanga biri kwatambuka ariko twakibona ntitugitere nk'ibuye. Umwe araryama nk'amasaha 4 cyangwa 5, undi akaba yicaye akaba murindiye nk'umutekano, undi yakanguka kongera akarya.
Having no house of course means no house materials. This made their lives even more complicated, as whenever they wanted to take shower or else wash their clothes, the only option was going to the riverside and apply what they call wash and wear.
Ukuntu mfata agasabune ngahita ko manuka ku mugezi uri hariya, ngahita ko nkuramwe imyenda nk'umusore, ngahita ko nyifura, namara kuyifura ngahita nyakamura, ngahita nanayambara ubundi
By when we visited, they were living a terrible life without money and said that life is meaningless as they can't even manage to afford what to eat daily, clothes and more. The main support they wanted was to help them get a house, and if that was not easily possible, they suggested that money to invest in some small business would help them to keep going. Today, we took a long journey returning to see the two brothers who live in a hole and found when they tried to build something like a house, but not really a house. They say they looked for a few trees and some roofing sheets, then tried however much they could and built this. To them, it's a big achievement, though some people who never knew what they went through think this is a joke and always say it looks like a toilet. But it's only a small house with no rooms. On our return we found when the big brother Jack was not around, as he had gone to working to see whether they'd earn a living. He says that though God helped them and they finally managed to build a house, life here is still difficult due to no money, and they failed to find someone to teach them a profession for free of charge. The two brothers needed a lot, starting from shelter, fresh clothes, food, etc. And that's why after our first visit, we had to open a campaign and different people contributed on givinglife.com. That's why we decided to bring them funds gathered, as it can be helpful in many ways. But that was not all, as all they needed was a house urgently, and we helped them get one where everything is done and they feel at home. They will no longer have to fight with animals at night anymore.
Ndabashimiye cyane mongejejeho ubutumwa bwa Afrimax uko nanjye mwari musanze ndi mu buzima nanjye bubi musanze mukuru wanjye nawe yagiye gushakisha.
He starts by thanking each and everyone that saw the story and were touched, then decided to do something for them that would change their lives forever, as he never thought that one day he would be living in such a house. Claude and Jack are trying as adults, but maybe they were cast as nothing they do that prospers, this being the reason they live under extreme poverty. After growing up, they tried different activities to help them earn money, but none of what they tried ever helped. It instead left them struggling even more. They think that might be a wicked spirit that is responsible for hindering them to shine.
Twese twagarukiye mu wa kabiri primaire.
Gusoma no kwandika
Ntabwo mbizi neza.
One of the main reasons to why life turned upside down was the life they lived during their childhood, and another factor being having dropped out of school in their primary too, and that is as if they never went to school at all, but hope that since they're here still breathing, they'll make it one day, despite having such difficulties in life. He knows it will not always be this bad, but again sure that it will take some time. The two men, Jack and Claude, still need a lot to survive. That's why you can keep helping them by contributing on the link found in description and pinned in top comments. Be thankful for what you have. If you concentrate on what you don't have, you will never ever have enough. Thank you for watching. I'm Elijah and this is Afrimax English. Remember to subscribe.